Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Gendron?
Here.
Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Hoey?
Here.
Mayor Kennedy?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
First item in the minutes, the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled school committee meeting of October 19th, 2016, and approval of the minutes of the special school committee meeting of Thursday, October 27th, 2016. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes, place them on file by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Ms. Doherty? Discussion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted. Next, we have permission to enter. Is there a motion to approve the permission to enter? We have a motion by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Mr. Hoey. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Next, under public participation, we have one speaker to speak on item number 2016-437.
Good evening. Thank all of you for being here today. My name is Anase Omieni. I am president of the senior class at Lowell High School. With me is Madeline Leahy, vice president of the senior class at Lowell High School. And we are here today because we are requesting for the reestablishment of the student representative position on the school committee. The students of Lowell High are calling for this establishment, which would be a non-voting position. And just to clarify, in our initial recommendation, we did request that this non-voting member would have access and be allowed into executive session. We have since amended that, seeing as it is not in accordance with the General Law, Chapter 31, Section 38. We believe that the establishment of a student representative position is integral to students understanding their role as citizens and their participation in a democracy. The position is critical in ensuring our elected officials represent our interests and consider our needs, and that they are held accountable. This representative would once again be a non-voting member of the school committee. Said representative would be subject to all the school committee rules and regulations and would serve without compensation, and they would serve as a meaningful link and promote a mutual sense of respect and understanding between the student body and the school committee. This student would represent the attitudes, interests, and concerns of the student body before the school committee. So, very brief. Thank you.
Thank you. So this matter appears on the agenda a little bit later on, so we'll take it up at that time. There's no objection. So, moving on, we have motion, Mr. General.
Would it make sense to take that matter out of order so that
We can do that.
these young ladies have an opportunity to hear the discussion?
Okay,
I'll make that motion that we take it out of order, take it now.
okay. We have a motion to take item 437, item 11 out of order. This motion's been seconded. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. So the LHS representative proposal, Mr. Gendron?
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think having, now if I can just understand it a little bit better, and I want to say maybe you can, or Madeline, maybe you can answer a question. The intention would be to have the student representative here at all of our meetings?
Yes, and so this year, because we have already passed the June date that is required in the policy that has already been established, the member would be rotating as one of the 4 officers: Cole Conlin, Kevin Lopez, Madeline Leahy, myself, and also the vice president and president of the student council, who are Andre Regal and Maxwell Towers. And we would establish a set of bylaws which we would use this June to elect a member who would be permanent for the 2017-2018 academic year for next year.
Is there any, is there a something legally that we would need to do? Mr. Mayor, do you know if there's something legally we need to do to institute something like this, to have a student member on the board, or perhaps, Mrs. Durkin, you can
Deputy
respond?
Superintendent can probably speak to that, Mr. General.
Thank you, Mr. Gendron and Mayor Kennedy. According to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 38M, It is in accordance with the law that the school committee has student advisory that meets with them every other month, and we currently do that prior to our school committee meetings each month. Additionally, in the law, it stipulates that they can have one of those student advisory members elected in the month of June to serve for the following year as a member de facto of the school committee. This is, as Anna said so eloquently, this is a non-voting member, and executive sessions are not part of the law unless the school committee were to vote that in. At present, we have on file a school committee policy. Unfortunately, when I went back and dug into this, there is no adoption date that was in the policy, but it's file JIB that speaks to student involvement in decision-making. And specifically, it stipulates those two portions that I just articulated relative to the student advisory meeting every other month, and then having a chairperson as a student advisory. I submitted that to you. It's the last page of the document.
Thank you. So I think it's a terrific idea. I think having student input on many of the decisions that we make is very valuable. I would welcome the opportunity to have one of these young people join us here at the meetings. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. I definitely concur. I think it would be a benefit to us to have a student representative presenting the point of view and the perspective of our students. I have a question regarding the language under tasks in this document. It speaks specifically about negotiating union contracts, and I know we had the student speaker, and you mentioned that it's not going to include executive session, so how does this part fit in when we are meeting to discuss negotiations with our unions? That is typically done in executive session. This tasks paragraph speaks specifically about receiving the same documents and information, and that it would be, the student member would provide insight when allocating the budget and negotiating union contracts. So that seems to completely be in opposition to the executive session piece. So I'm just trying to get some clarity on that. Thank you.
Ms. Durkin.
The second part that stipulates a school committee meeting and student representative proposal, this is specifically the proposal from the students as they presented it to the superintendent and team prior to the last school committee meeting. Since such time, they did amend, but unfortunately did not get into this document, and they understand that they're not requesting to be part of executive session. So they would just provide their input to the school committee relative to their concerns around budget and staffing and anything that impacts students.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with my colleagues. I think this is a great idea. And when I was first elected, I was, not too far from being a graduate of Lowell High, and now I'm getting older, so I'd appreciate somebody younger sitting up here with me.
You're an old
But I think it's I think since there was some changes to the document and there are some questions from both parties, I think it would make sense to refer to the Lowell High School Subcommittee, where the two of you and all of the others that would be serving this year, and the headmaster, the head of school, and the superintendent, and all of us can get together and go through it, and then have a formal opinion to bring back to this committee for a vote. I think that would make sense.
So we have a motion to refer this to the Lowell High School Subcommittee?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Hoy. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going back to motions, item number 7 is a motion by Mr. Gignac, request that the superintendent write a letter of thanks on behalf of the school committee to Larry Finn, Lieutenants Mike Ryan, Paul Casella, Mike Bo Regini, and Chief Jeff Winwood, and the entire Lowell Fire Department for their generous program, Coats for that coats that benefits countless Lowell Public School students each year. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoy. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the motion really speaks for itself. This is a program that's gone on for a number of years that have really benefited so many of our students. And a lot of our students simply just don't have the resources to stay warm in the winter, and it's the generosity of these individuals and many others that bring these kids warmth in the colder months. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoy.
Thanks, Mayor. I participated in this. It was right in the firehouse, right behind the building. They were giving out all the coats to people the other day, and I had coffee and donuts and some great turkey chili. I just think the school committee, they might want to, next year, maybe help them promote it through the system to tell people about the coats. If there was any issue with it, I think that was one. They had a lot of people show up, 300 or 400, I guess, but they had almost 1,000 coats, so maybe we can help tell the schools about the coats next year, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you. I did provide the committee with a correspondence, both to Chief Winward on behalf of the school committee, as well as to Mr. Finn himself for his establishment of the Coats for Ann. And I will have this on record for the next agenda so that it's there documented. But it did go out to all of them today. And additionally, I just want you to know that our school social workers every single year work diligently, and we are going to be meeting with Mr. Finn relative to this so that we're ready for next year, and we're going to meet as of January 2017.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is also a motion by Mr. Gignac. Request that the Lowell Public Schools participate in the Massachusetts Youth Summit on Opiate Awareness taking place at the Sanger Center. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a program that is being sponsored by the Mark Wahlberg Foundation, and we're really fortunate that it's taking place here in Lowell. And it's a statewide event that's going to be bringing in students from all over the state in the region. And I just think it makes perfect sense for our students to be in attendance and to really participate. And from conversations I've had with the administration, I think we're at the point where that's going to happen. And I just want to acknowledge that this was brought up at the mayor's task force on the opiate epidemic, and everyone at the table was really appreciative that this is taking place, and this is just an initiative that's adding to all that we're already doing and that we're going to be doing in the future. So we're really fortunate it's taking place here, and the fact that our students are going to be there is great. So thank you very much for making that happen.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, on the subcommittee reports, we have the Finance Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, October 26, 2016. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee met on October 26th. Those present were myself and Ms. Doherty, Mr. Frisch, and Mr. Cassidy from the school department. We had two agenda items, the budget transfer policy and the permission to enter policy. The subcommittee discussed the recommendation of the superintendent, Mr. Frisch, which was to put in a policy requiring a vote for transfers. You know what? I'll just tell you what we voted on as a recommendation. So the subcommittee recommended that the school committee adopt a policy in keeping with the need for periodic reconciliation of the school department's budget. The school committee shall authorize budget transfers of funds less than 10% of the total budget within the Department of Education program account. The Assistant Superintendent of Finance is required to notify the school committee on any budget transfers of 5% or greater by the next school committee meeting. And that 5% or greater is 5% of that program account. Any transfers greater than or equal to 10% of the total amount within the program account must be approved by the school committee. Also, which was not included in these meeting minutes, but should be included in the policy that we vote on tonight, is that any and all transfers outside of the Department of Education program account must be approved by the school committee. So I'd entertain that as a motion.
Okay, so would the proper motion be then to have the full school committee approve the recommendations of the finance committee?
Yes.
Is that, okay, so that would be the motion, seconded by Mr. Hoey. Discussion on the motion? Ms. Martin?
Could I just, could you repeat what the addition that you just added?
Yes, so any transfers outside of the Department of Education program account to another program account must be brought forward to the school committee for a vote.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure I heard that.
Sure.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
And the chair would also entertain a motion to accept the finance report as a, do you have one more?
There's one more policy, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The subcommittee also discussed a permission to enter policy. Mr. Cassidy and Mr. Frisch informed the subcommittee that there was a practice in place, but no formal policy regarding when a permission to enter must be brought forward to the school committee for a vote. So what the body did, it was we developed a policy. The initial recommendation was to have all service contracts brought before the school committee for $10,000 and more. The subcommittee felt that we should continue the current practice of $5,000. So a motion was made to recommend to the full school committee that the school committee requires the superintendent or his or her designee to seek permission to enter into a contract for services that are greater than $5,000. And that was supported by myself and Ms. Doherty. So I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, so we have the motion, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Discussion on the motion. Roll call?
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
And I'll submit that as a report of progress.
Okay, we have a motion to accept it as the report as a report of progress. Second by Ms. Martin. Discussion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under reports of the superintendent. The first one, item number 10, is the Community Service Learning Program. Is there any discussion on the Community Service Learning Program? Mr. Gendron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank you, Ms. Desmond, for this report. I think this is the type of thing I was looking for, so we can track these community service hours. I see we're already planning the Community Service Day in May, so that's great news. The only other thing I would say is the intent is to try and see if we can use that community service as a learning experience, and I'm sure we do that. But I wondered if it might be possible to sort of, find ways to where we can specifically thread that back into the classroom. So, I'm not looking for a particular response on that, but in general, I'd like to be able to look at the community service that we do and the quantity of it, and it's all good, but how do we take that and then thread it back into the classroom and use it as learning experiences? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item 10? If not, we'll move on to item 12, which is the School Site Council. Any discussion on item 12? Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the Assistant Superintendent for providing this. I think it's very helpful for the committee to be able to see that all of these councils are functioning and when they'll be meeting and who builds up the membership. One thing that I would just request in the future is that if you could just add whether or not the council member is a parent or a staff person. I could pick out the staff people that I know personally and the parents, but I think that might be helpful to see what the buildup is on each council. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to, we'll skip over item 13 because it requires a roll call vote and move on to item 14, which is the Mass EEC Fiscal and Program Compliance Review. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll move on to item number 15, which is amendment for the NRT Bus Incorporated. Any discussion? No discussion. The chair would entertain a motion to accept items 10 through 12 and 14 and 15. Ms. Martin.
If I could make a motion to take the second and last item out as a separate item, the audit report for the
Okay.
PEG grant, if you could just take that separately.
Okay. At this point, let's just take them all individually then. Is probably, because we've got one that has that needs a roll call. We've got one that was already discussed out of order, and so there aren't that many that it wouldn't be that bad. All right, so item number 10. We have a motion to accept that report as a report of progress by Mr. Generman, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Item number 12, the school site council. Motion to accept that as a report of progress from Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Generman. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Item number 15, the amendment to the NRT Bus Incorporated. Motion to accept the report by Mr. Generman, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have the Lowell High School Athletics Rule 53 waiver request. Do we have a motion to approve the waiver? Mr. Hoey.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Hoey, seconded by Mr.
Second the
Generman.
motion.
Okay. Discussion on the motion? Mr. Generman.
I notice Mr. DeProfio is here this evening. I thought it might be worthwhile to have him, I assume he's here to talk about this particular item. I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Deputy Superintendent Durkin, members of the Central Administration, Mr. Mayor, and members of the school committee. Thank you for your support of this. This Rule 53 waiver allows us in certain sports to, of our choosing, to reach out and allow middle school students to participate. We've done this in ice hockey for the past few years, and it has helped to build the program. Last year, we did it in boys swim and dive and both alpine ski programs, and we did have a middle school student swim for us. This year, I've asked for approval to add girls gymnastics. This should not be considered only a program builder, but this is also an opportunity for us to reach out to students in sports where the particular common theme is sometimes a potential economic limitations to certain students in our district to participate in these sports at an early level. And this allows them to participate with us at, of course, no cost to the student. And it does not impact, in other words, they don't lose eligibility down the road as they become a ninth grader. And it also has served us to help build programs and hopefully to continue to build programs that have unique skill sets that typically students come into high school with some of these skills. And it has been successful for us so far, and I think our hockey program is a great example of that. So I appreciate your support, and thank you very much.
Mr. Gendron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask you, Mr. DeProfio, is ice hockey still, are we still doing this in ice hockey?
We are, yes, Mr. Genron.
And do we anticipate that we won't need to do that at some point in time, or is this a long-term?
I think that, Mr. Genron, we do anticipate that we won't need this for very much longer. This year, in fact, I asked only for 8th grade students. And what we think we'll be able to, if the trend continues, is be able to have some kind of sub-varsity program going forward, probably not this winter, but maybe next winter on a more formal basis where we'll be able to develop from the 9th grade students up with some playing experience as the numbers continue to improve in the program.
I certainly support it. The only thing I would say is that with a sport like ice hockey, I do worry about the size. You know, 8th graders going up against seniors in high school. Obviously, gymnastics and swimming are individual things, so there's not the contact issue. But
thank you. I apologize. I should have included that in my remarks about this. That this gives our middle school students in these sports permission to try out. But with communication from myself and from the coaches to the parents that if we don't feel it's an appropriate placement, that a student wouldn't be put in a situation where they were not able to handle it. So it's not a guarantee that they'll participate, especially in a situation of a contact sport like ice hockey. But it does give them a chance to participate if they're able to. So it's really a chance to try out for the team and then go from there.
all right, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Very welcome. Thank you.
So we have a motion to accept it as a report of progress by Mr. Gendron, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Oh, roll call, I'm sorry.
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? 6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
The next item, item 14, is the Mass EEC fiscal and program compliance review. Do we have a motion to accept that accept that report by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Gendron? Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Moving on to new business. We have a vote to accept a grant in the amount of $1,000 to Lowell Public Schools Attendance Department. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Gendron. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty? Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Next, under convention conferences, requests for conventions and conferences, we have 3 items. The chair would entertain a motion to bundle all 3 and approve them in one vote. A motion by Ms. Doherty to that effect, second by Mr. Gignac. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Dakota? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
That concludes the agenda. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Hoey, second by Ms. Martin. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned.